Hi there everyone, and welcome to the last reflections of the week. This past week we've been looking at things that we've learned on lockdown, good things that we want to take with us after lockdown. And having reflected on some of these things, presumably we can all say that we share an optimism for the future if we can continue to nurture some of these things that we have learned. But today I want to draw a distinction between optimism and hope. The Bible is strong on hope, but hope is not optimism. Because optimism often is linked into a mood or a temperament or a feeling. Biblical hope is not that. It's a deliberate attitude. It's an active virtue. It's a specific focus. Let me explain what I mean. Bishop Desmond Tutu, famous for his involvement in the fight against apartheid in South Africa, was once asked by a journalist if he was optimistic about the future. He said, "No, but I have hope." And what he meant was that because of his belief in the goodness of the struggle that he was involved in, the rightness of the cause, because of his belief in a God who was at work in that situation, he had hope that what they were struggling for and working towards would come to pass. It was hope, not optimism. So let's go out of this lockdown into some kind of normality, however that's going to pan out and what shape it's going to take, with hope. And realise that hope is an active virtue. It's about what we can do. And if we've reflected in some of the good things that we've learned from the lockdown experience, if we can nurture these, if we can cultivate these, if we can work towards these, then we are the agents of trying to bring that hope to pass. Whereas if we just sit back and are optimistic that somehow and in some way it'll all just kind of work out, then we've missed the point. Hope is an active virtue. It's a deliberate attitude of the mind. It's a way of cultivating and implementing and embodying the good things in life that we can't just allow to happen all by themselves. We are the agents of that hope. So if we want there to be a good return to normality, and not just to return to how things were before, but hopefully we live in a society where some things have changed, attitudes have changed, expectations have changed, and if we can nurture these things and work towards a better future, then what we've gone through in these last months will not have been in vain. But it's up to us. I want to finish by reading some words from 1 Corinthians 13, where Paul says this: "When I was a child, I talked as a child. I thought as a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. Now we see but a poor reflection, but one day we will see face to face. Now we know in part, but then we will know fully. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." Faith, hope, and love. Three things. Now, I understand what Paul means by saying the greatest of these is love, because at the end of the day, if we believe that love is behind the universe, then there are grounds for hope that ultimately it will work out according to the providence of God. And hope is an active virtue that, in a sense, links in with that. And faith, of course, is the characteristic and the virtue that points us in that direction. But I like to think of hope as being the central part of it. You have faith, hope, and love. And hope is the bridge. Because hope looks towards things working out, a conclusion that's good and just and right. But hope is not optimism. Hope challenges us to work towards that. Martin Luther King, of course involved in the civil rights movement in the United States in the 1960s, he talked about, we do our work this day in the light of that day. In other words, the struggle for justice, the struggle for a new society was hard work, but it was only possible because they believed that that day, the day in the future, would come. This day in the light of that day. And of course, Martin Luther King, as a Baptist minister, believed very much in the final day when God's love and God's vindication of all that is good takes place at the end of history. This day in the light of that day. And hope is the cement that brings faith and love together. So, as lockdown eases, let's not go out with optimism, but let's have hope that the good things we've seen in other people, the selfless love of others helping, whether it's in the health service or whether it was neighbours who did amazing things for people during this time of pandemic, or whether it's the things that we have come to be challenged about ourselves in our own lives and in our own situation. Let's take all of that that's good and use that as a springboard going into the future, not with optimism, but with genuine hope. And if we can do that, we can try to make a difference for the kind of world and the kind of culture and the kind of society and even the kind of village that we live in. It's up to us to live out that hope in our attitudes and in our actions. Once again, thank you for listening this week. God be with you, and I'll see you on Sunday.